Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing good. This is part 2 of the video on anatomy of triangles of the neck. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. In part 1 of the video, we covered the anterior triangle of the neck and all the subtriangles present in it. For this video, we will discuss the posterior cervical region and the suboccipital triangle. So, the posterior cervical region is the region posterior to the anterior border of the trapezius muscle. Main content is the trapezius muscle, which runs down to the posterolateral aspect of the trunk. The suboccipital triangle or the region lies deep to the posterior cervical region. We will discuss about this triangle in detail. But for now, let's have a look at the posterior cervical region. So this is the posterior cervical region, and the suboccipital triangle is present deep in this region. Coming to the suboccipital triangle. The borders of this triangle are the superomedial border formed by the rectus capitis posterior major muscle, superolateral border formed by the obliquus capitis superior muscle, inferolateral border formed by the obliquus capitis inferior muscle, roof formed by the semispinalis capitis muscle, and the floor formed by the posterior atlanto-occipital membrane and the posterior arc of cervical 1 vertebra. It may seem difficult to understand it right now, but don't worry, I will make sure you do. The contents of this triangle include the third part of the vertebral artery, suboccipital nerve, and the suboccipital venous plexus. Now let's have a look at it. This is the posterior view of the suboccipital muscles which form this triangle. This is the rectus capitis posterior major muscle which forms the superomedial border. This is the obliquus capitis posterior muscle which forms the superolateral border. And this is the obliquus capitis inferior muscle which forms the inferolateral border. As we discussed earlier that the roof of the suboccipital triangle is formed by the semispinalis capitis muscle. So let's see where it originates from and where it inserts. This is the right lateral view. And semispinalis capitis muscle originates from the articular processes of the vertebra C4, C5, C6 and C7 and the transverse processes of the thoracic 1 to 6 vertebrae. The muscle inserts between the superior and inferior nuchal lines of the occipital bone. So this is the semispinalis capitis muscle that forms the roof. Last is the floor of this triangle, which is formed by this posterior atlanto-occipital membrane and the posterior arc of C1 vertebra. You may wonder how can we see this triangle in this image. So let's take a look at a more simplified form of this image. As you can see, this muscle shaded in the green is the obliquus capitis superior. In the red is the obliquus capitis inferior. And in the blue is the rectus capitis posterior major muscle. And this is how they form the suboccipital triangle. That is it for this video guys. We will cover rest of the triangles in the upcoming parts. Don't forget to subscribe the channel and follow us on Instagram. Links in the description.